So it's time to finally start the Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. So in this video, we're going to cover the prologue through chapters 5, so stay tuned. The prologue is Fortress of the Light, and we learn that the world is kind of in the midst of a huge war right now. We have 3 dragons, one in Almouth Plain, another in Saldea, and a third in Tyr. And we also learn that the Children of the Light think that the Aes Sedai is responsible for everything that happened on Tom and Head, but they also recognize that the Seanchan are the ones responsible. But it's pretty clear that they believe that the Aes Sedai are working with the Seanchan and that all Aes Sedai are dark friends. We also learned that Child Bayar has a vendetta against Perrin at this point. He is absolutely convinced that Perrin is a dark friend. We then go to a conversation with Commander Niall and Caridin, I believe is his name. They have a conversation. Caridin seems to be pretty devout as a Child of the Light, and Niall gives him orders that he is to keep the dragon alive, not kill him, and then in turn to kill any Aes Sedai that tries to oppose the dragon, which is definitely not an order that I expected a Child of the Light to give, and you can tell that even Caridin is very taken aback. He doesn't agree with it at all. However, when Caridin goes back to his own rooms, a Myrddraal is waiting for him and orders him to kill Rand. So it seems like Balsamon isn't playing anymore. He doesn't care who kills Rand, he just wants it done. And we now know that Caridin himself is a dark friend. So the Children of the Light have been infiltrated, and I think that kind of explains why they have everything wrong. They believe that the Aes Sedai are working with the Seanchan. They believe that all Aes Sedai are dark friends, even though it's clear that there's some Black Aja because of what happened in the Great Hunt with Liandrin. So I don't know, it wasn't what I really expected when we opened this book, but I like it. I'm pretty interested. I know that most of this is going to come back into play, obviously, but I think it was a good start to the third book. Chapter 1 is Waiting, and I was really excited because this is a Perrin chapter, and Perrin is one of my absolute favorites, so I was really excited that we got to start the book out with him. It's a pretty short chapter. He is with a few other people, and they are waiting for a woman on behalf of Moiraine. When she arrives, we learn that her name is Leia, and she is one of the traveling people. And between their conversations, you can really see that Perrin is pretty frustrated with her and her lifestyle, because she is of the traveling people once again. You know, she believes in no violence whatsoever. Even if she knows that she is going to be killed, she will refuse to raise a hand in defense of herself to avoid harming someone else. And you can really tell in this chapter that it does kind of grate on Perrin's nerves. In chapter 2, Saidin, we have 3 more named characters who are Uno, Massima, and Rhaegon. And we also witness Perrin kind of pushing his woven powers to the side and trying to ignore that part of himself. So that's pretty interesting. He already had some tendencies to do that, but he's clearly purposely distancing himself from his woven powers. Min is there with him, and she tells him that she sees the traveling woman's, Leia, that was her name, she sees Leia's death and that she knows that she's going to die in violence. And this really bothers Perrin, even though he's frustrated with her because of her lifestyle. It still bothers him to imagine her dying in such a violent way because she herself is so non-violent. And I think that just shows his tender heart. Min also spend some time lamenting the fact that she is affected by Rand being Targaryen, how it's pulling her life in directions that she didn't want or doesn't want. Loyal is on the opposite end. He is extremely excited. He finds it very adventurous and exciting to be near a Targaryen. He's talking about writing a book, and Loyal just warms my heart. I love every scene that he's in. So a little bit later in the chapter, Rand, who's been fighting with Moiraine, has stepped away from the camp, and Perrin goes to talk to him, maybe to try to help him. And Rand is really struggling with being the Dragon Reborn. At one point while he and Perrin are talking, he actually accidentally touches Saidin, and he even tells Perrin that sometimes he can't help it, like the call to him is just so powerful. So that's pretty worrisome. Chapter 3, News from the Plane. So when Perrin and Rand come back to the camp, it is clear that when Rand touched Saidin, it pretty much shook the whole camp. The 3 other named characters, they're still pretty loyal to Rand. You can tell there's like this fervor to them. They're very loyal, and they truly believe in him being the Dragon Reborn and that he's going to save the world. Setting that aside, it is clear that Min and Perrin have been spending some time together, and so they have grown closer platonically, but they have grown closer and they care about each other and what they're going through. Min, you know, she's still complaining about being forced against her will because of the wheel, and Perrin tries to give her an out, tells her, you know, leave and you don't have to be here, but Min still chooses to stay. And I find that interesting that she's choosing to stay, but also at the same time, it could just be the wheel kind of manipulating her into thinking that that's what she wants. I'm not really sure how the wheel works and like pulling people into places that they're supposed to be. So I don't know if it can really manipulate Min's way of thinking to where she is willing to stay even though she still technically doesn't want to stay. But when she's, you know, given the opportunity to leave, she doesn't. So Leia is there talking to Moraine, and she brings the news that men known as the Soulless are searching and killing men that look like Rand, and that the children are avoiding Dragonsworn in general. So that's pretty interesting, but that also still kind of ties into the prologue where we know that the children are, or at least Commander Niall is telling them not to kill the Dragon Reborn, and you know, so that of course they're going to avoid Dragonsworn because Dragonsworn are for the dragon. So chapter 4 is Shadows Sleeping. In this chapter we spend most of our time with Perrin, who is dreaming, and in the first part of the dream he is in an inn and he is offered a drink and more from Balsamon, and he turns him down. No surprise there. The dream then seems to shift, and suddenly Lanfear is the one that is there, and she is telling him to seek glory, and she also offers him a drink, and he turns her down as well. So suddenly he is outside of the inn, and he is witnessing these 3 men basically fighting until one of them channels fire, and then suddenly a wolf is there telling him or trying to reach into Perrin's mind, and Perrin is just pushing him out, telling him no. At that point, the sword of Calendar, or the sword named Calendar, is offered to him, and he rejects it. So after that, the dreams just kind of keep blurring together, but after that, another wolf appears, or if it's the same wolf. The wolf appears and tells him that the Twisted Ones are coming, and Perrin is just pushing him out of his mind and yelling, you know, that he is a man, basically. And at that point, he wakes up, but he still hears the wolf in his head saying, "The Twisted Ones come, brother," and he knows that the Trollocs are here. So in this chapter, we can clearly see that Perrin is basically struggling with his identity. And when he was in the dream with Balsamon, you know, Balsamon tells him, just go home and be a blacksmith. That's what you want to do anyway. But Perrin admits and acknowledges that he is Targaryen as well, and that he can't just go home. So he admits that, he acknowledges it, but he's still internally struggling, and then we see him pushing away his own powers. And, you know, it's just that tickling, you know, in his mind. And I know that these powers are different than just simply being Ta'veren. He feels like he can still be Ta'veren and not be this weird man with these powers that he doesn't fully understand. But you can just tell that he really is conflicted between these two parts of himself, and it just breaks my heart for him. I can't wait to see what this book does for Perrin's character, because I feel like already it's going to be a little heavy with Perrin, or at least I hope it continues that way. And I just, bless his heart, he's going to be in for a ride. Chapter 5, Nightmares Walking. So, back to the Trollocs. When Perrin wakes up and he hears the wolf in his head saying the Twisted Ones are here, or the Twisted Ones come, brother, he and Lan both burst out of their own tents and are telling everyone the Trollocs are coming, get up, get ready, let's do this. And chaos ensues. So when Perrin is out of his tent, he looks over and he sees Leia, who is also out of her tent, and he runs over to her and he tells her to hide because he remembers what men saw. He remembers men seeing her death, and he is terrified of Leia dying. So he runs over there, he tells her to hide, and at that point he is faced with a Fade, and the Fade tells him cut one leg of the tripod and they all fall. And I'm assuming he's talking about the tripod of the three Targaryen, Perrin, Rand, and Mat. So instead of hiding, Leia tries to actually hold the Fade to try to help Perrin because he seems to be struggling, and the Fade just, kind of reaches behind him and kills her without even looking at her. And at that point, the wolves come, and Perrin just kind of lets them meld with his mind, and he and the other wolves attack and kill the Fade. Once the Fade is done, Perrin and the wolves continue killing basically as one, as a unit, as a pack. And at the end, when the wolves start howling for their own dead, Perrin actually howls with them, and then comes up and asks him if he's okay, where Perrin abruptly stops and kind of severs that contact. Rand is off by himself because he is basically useless and doesn't know how to control his channeling abilities, and he doesn't know how to properly channel. He struggles because he knows that he has this duty and he has this power, but he doesn't know how to use it. And apparently it seems that Moraine is useless. I don't know. But she does heal all of the wounded and heals Rand's open wound from back in Tommen's head that reopened. So what bothers me about this is poor Rand. It seems like nobody's trying to teach him how to channel. It's just, oh, you can channel, congratulations, you're the Dragon Reborn, and they don't try to teach him. I don't know if that's true. Moraine could be trying to teach him, kind of in the background of the book, where Jordan isn't necessarily trying to bring that all to the front with if it's boring or whatever, but to me as a reader, it just seems like no one is trying to help Rand. It is all, you can channel, you are the Dragon Reborn, but no one wants to tell him how to channel. There seems to be a lot of just figure it out when the Aes Sedai are involved. It's pretty frustrating, and I feel bad for Rand because, like I said, it seems like he just keeps being told that he's powerful, that he can channel, but no one is telling him how to channel. No one is telling him how to control this power, how to bring it forth. He just kind of does it sometimes, and that doesn't mean that he is capable by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, so that is this week's section. Next week we're going to go into chapters 6 through 10, and as always, I look forward to the discussion in the comments. We always get great discussions going, and I truly enjoy it, so thanks for sticking with me through the last two books and joining me again for The Dragon Reborn. So hit like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll see y'all next week. Y'all are as good as gold. Y'all take care. Bye.